How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Go Forward Show, and we are talking to some awesome entrepreneurs today. Daniel Elliott is the co-founder of Israeli Good Wine, a direct-to-consumer company that sells Israeli wine to consumers and then uses part of the proceeds to bless the nation of Israel back as a socially responsible business or a cause-forward business. So thanks so
Yeah.
much for coming on the show and chatting with us
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you, Dylan. Really
Yeah,
appreciate you
yeah, my
having us
pleasure.
on.
So tell me a little bit about the idea for this company and how'd you guys stand it up and how long it's been around and how you
Yeah,
guys been doing? Yeah.
absolutely. So the journey started in Israel for
Okay.
us, and it came out of a what I would call a lifelong pursuit of just understanding the Christian roots of my faith. And we found
Mm,
ourselves in 2017. We found ourselves in Israel with four of our friends, and we were basically just on a wine tour together.
mm-hmm.
Which in that time I was not in the wine business. I come out of a
Mm,
construction background.
sure.
My wife in the coffee industry,
Yeah.
but we found ourselves in the Samaria region of Israel. A little bit of a political, hot area over there.
Yeah, at the moment for sure,
For
but
sure.
in 17 it was probably a little less dicey. Yeah.
Yep. And so we just one of our friends is real into wine, and she said I really want to go taste some wine. We're like, yeah, well, come along.
Yeah.
So we showed up at three different wineries that day, and what really caught my attention is we were at a winery called Tura Winery, and the co-founder, the wife, her name is Vered. She was sitting and she was saying, my husband and I we were in the technology space. We have a high level of education in that, and we could have done so many things there, but we really wanted to do something that was in the spiritual roots of our faith. And she shared a verse that I had probably read but never really connected with. She said, I was reading through the Bible and I came across Jeremiah 31 verse 5. And the context of that is where God's saying that he will put the people of Israel back in their own land, right? But verse 5 is a hyper specific geographical location. It says that once again they will plant vineyards on the hills of the Shomron, or in English we would say Samaria. So you have this interesting promise that God is making to his people that was prophesied 2,700 years ago. And virtually all the prophets, by the way, said the same thing. It wasn't just one prophet, it was, all the minor and major prophets had this theme that God would expel the people, but once again he would put them back. And one of the signs would be that they would plant vineyards, and they
Wow.
would harvest the fruit of that, and they would make wine from
That's
that
pretty
fruit.
cool.
Yeah, so when she said that, it did several things. For me, it was an epiphany of understanding that as a Christian, my approach to prophecy in the Bible had always been, let's just, if God said in the Bible, we'll just sit back and watch and see what he does with it. But her approach was the opposite. She said, oh, God said this is what he's going to do. I want to be a part of that. And
So it's living prophecy in your life, looking for those directives of God and then not waiting for them to fulfill themselves, but being part of the fulfillment.
that's right.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
That's cool,
so
man.
capture our attention.
Well, most important question, is Israeli wine any good?
Israeli wine is very
Let's
good.
go. Let's
and,
go.
And objectively, so a lot of people, we
Well,
get that question all the time,
I'm from
right?
California, so we have a
That's
caliber. We're a little
competition right
snobby.
there.
We're a little snobby, obviously, but obviously you've got the Bordeaux region. Those are kind of the two,
Yeah.
nationally most snob-nosed wine regions of the entire world. But I, in full transparency, quit drinking 11 years ago. But I was at the time the publisher of a wine. I was a wine publisher at that moment. I ran a website called youngwinos.com, and it was
I love it.
20-year-old, 21 to 29-year-old wine club that we started on Craigslist, and then we started putting our reviews out on the internet.
Craigslist.
Yes.
You just dated yourself big time. I love
And these blogs were getting so much attention that we got invited on Gary V's, Wine TV, and we got invited on Tom Leykis's show, which was he had a Saturday show called The Tasting Room with Tom Leykis. So we started getting kind of national prominence just as these young kids that were drinking wine every week and putting our thoughts on the internet. And so we created a model where we syndicated the club nationally, and people would send, buses for us from Napa and Temecula and Paso Robles because when you capture a 20-year-old wine aficionado, they become a 30-year-old wine aficionado that then collects $50 and $100 bottles, and then in their 40s they collect $500 bottles, and you age up with that consumer. So if you can create an enthusiast young, that's very important. But much like your friends, I was one of those wine tourists where no matter where I went in the world, I would find the closest winery and go taste the wine.
I love it.
And, so I definitely believe you when you say that, like, it doesn't, there is amazing wine made around the world outside of the quote unquote wine regions.
Absolutely. Well, and on that point, I think, the question that you pose, is Israeli wine good? So I love to take people back a couple thousand years. Okay. So this is where really the story begins. It's, in speaking of California, a lot of people refer to different wine regions as either New World or Old World. California falls into that New World category. France, Italy, Spain, Germany, Portugal fall into the Old World category.
And strangest, the oldest in the world is actually Armenia, right? Some of the oldest wine.
So according to Genesis 7, Genesis 8, if you believe that narrative, where right off of the boat, Noah, the first thing he does is he plants a vineyard, and we think it was in Armenia, right? But we think there's really another category, and that's ancient world wine. Armenia would fall into that. Greece,
that's cool.
Turkey, Iran, actually. The Shiraz, that grape actually came out of Iran.
Interesting.
But Israel, which was before it was Israel, is the land of Canaan, has been an ancient wine-producing region since its inception, since it was land.
Yep.
And we have archaeological evidence of that. And this is the part that really got me interested, because I'm looking at it again, coming into it not as a former wine person. I was in the roofing industry of all things. Okay, totally, blind to all this.
Yeah.
But I came into it, and I love archaeology. And when someone shared with me that at the time of Jesus, in 70 A.D., or actually that's like the time the Second Temple was around when it was destroyed. At that time, the archaeologists in Israel have uncovered from that period roughly 500 gat, or gatot, and it's the plural in Hebrew, which is an ancient wine press that is carved out of the bedrock, right? It's where they would gather the grapes, they throw them in, crush them underfoot, and then the
wine would juice through.
And then they collect it from there.
That's amazing.
So anthropologists and archaeologists have put together, enough data to know we had roughly this number of people, and I'm sorry I don't have that number off the top of my head, but we had roughly this amount of people living in Israel at this time, in the time of Jesus. Yet we have something like 10 times the number of gatot, or ancient wine presses, than what the population would have needed for making wine. Okay, so 10x wine production for what they would have consumed. The only logical conclusion is that they were exporting wine. They were making more to sell. And so they said, well, let's look further into this. Well, they have actually uncovered 3 distinct wine factories. One is located in the Samson region of Israel, one's located in the Negev region, and one is located in the Galilee. We just recently came back from Israel, where we visited the one in the Negev. And they have found shards of pottery there from ancient wine amphora. The name of that location, by the way, is Avdat. So in digging through all the layers of soil there, they find different periods of time, but one distinct period has a type of pottery, and archaeologists are they're scientifically analyzing this stuff and looking at chemical composition, style, coloration, all those things. That pottery found in that layer correlates to pottery that was found as far away as Scotland.
No way. That's pretty amazing. So they were OG wine exporters all over the world.
I mean, the conclusion is, if it was good enough to go all the way to Scotland, it had to be pretty darn good, right?
That's amazing.
It had to be worth paying an exorbitant price to take it on a donkey cart and a fragile clay amphora across the ocean on a journey that may or may not have gotten there. And a lot of them didn't get there, right?
Yep.
The bottom of the Mediterranean, they have found multiple shipwrecks laden with nothing but wine.
Holy cow. That's pretty awesome. So you guys kind of uncovered this hidden wine economy, essentially, of ancient Israel. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me a little bit about the business model. Are you guys actually vintners and processors yourselves? Do you own wineries in Israel and then bring those exports to America to sell in the business, or do you guys partner with local vintners and curate collections and then help expose those brands to an American or an international audience of wine enthusiasts that also like the idea of, being able to support the economy of Israel at the same time. Tell us a little about the business model.
Yeah, absolutely. So the latter of those is what we're focused on right now. We have an import license, so we can bring wine in directly in various forms if we wanted to bring it in bulk or in bottle. But yeah, our focus is really to help tell the story. And so rather than us producing wine and trying to sell our own private labeled wine, we really want to tell the story of those people there. We think it's a remarkable story that ties in so many different ways. And Israel, as we both know, it's a very tough issue to talk about in a lot of circles.
It's polarizing
right now.
in the moment.
It's very polarizing. And so we feel it's important to really bring humanity into this and show people the faces of those men and women that are there, and to help just say what they're doing and how they're collaborating with the people in their locale. There's actually a winery that we have been able to represent in the past called Moni Winery, and they're an incredible winery because they have the owners are Arab Christians, their winemakers an Orthodox Jew, and
so
their
cool.
vintners are Muslims.
So you guys are actually telling the stories of unity and these cultures working together, and the common value is wine.
Absolutely.
And the economy of making wine.
We like to think that it actually helps bring peace to the Middle East in a way. And when we get asked questions a lot about Israel and gets into tough conversations.
Of course.
But when you sit people down and you share a bottle of wine together, it really just diffuses everything. We like to say that let's sit at the table. Let's have a conversation. We may not agree, but let's at least sit and talk and enjoy something together mutually. And wine really helps with that.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about, has it been more challenging to do your business post October 7th and the current conflict? Has that changed dynamics in any way?
I would say it definitely has. It was difficult before,
Sure.
And now, because it's now in the spotlight more than ever, it's a lot more personal. We have Alana and I were actually in Israel on October 7th, 2023, when the invasion of the border communities around Gaza happened. We have friends that were living in those communities that were miraculously kept from harm. So the stories there are very personal for us of what happened and what continues to happen. We also have friends that are from Gaza that we have I won't say their names, but wonderful family friends they had to flee Gaza because of persecution. They lost some of their family members due to persecution within that community.
Within the Christian community.
Within the Christian Gaza
community.
That's
the interesting thing is that they don't a lot of people don't realize that Christians are being affected. Yes, the Muslim community is much bigger, but there are Christians living in both ancient Palestine and in Israel that face persecution in that entire area in general.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's a really complicated issue, Dylan. Like it's not one that you can just make a blanket statement about by any means. And we try to just continually keep our hearts and our minds open, and really hearing everyone's story, not just one side. And really wanting to represent peace.
I love it.
That's the hope of our company.
So cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's an amazing mission, and you guys are doing great work, and just the stories of the unity that you guys are seeing under this common, ancient ritual, this ancient, drink that's been talked about all throughout the Bible that, as you mentioned, there's nothing like breaking bread or drinking wine with people that humanizes and allows you to, get to know someone from who they actually are versus, talking at them or having an argument or, having these, these disagreements that we find ourselves with in the world at large on social media, but also when you get down to the real communities that are affected by these things. So we can all be very passionate until we walk a mile in the shoes of the people that are actually affected by these issues.
100%. Totally agree with that.
Love it. Yeah. All right. One of the themes of NRB is AI. I wonder, as marketers, as storytellers, has AI been a tool that you guys have been able to leverage and use either in your storytelling, your marketing, In some way, how is AI helping you guys punch above your weight class as an emerging challenger brand?
Love that you asked me this question.
Let's go.
So I have been diligently listening to every podcast I can get my hands on the subject. I've been testing Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, Grok, as many as I'm able to get access to. And for me, I'm still very new to it. As I told you earlier, I'm like a baby boomer in millennial shoes. But I have found, so I'll just say, first of all, for me, it's given me the ability to get answers on topics that were really hard to find and research before. So in our business, we really need good data. We really need good marketing tools to develop stuff quickly, and especially when things are rapidly changing. When you're dealing with Israel,
everything's moving at the speed of the news cycle.
Yes, the speed of the news cycle. So it's given us a lot more tools to develop content and really get a handle on things. And also it's given me the ability to go back and discover facts that are obscure, tucked away from ancient times that you couldn't find. Like, for example,
some of these wine history things that we talked about.
Yeah, and one that has fascinated me is just the anomaly that Israel is. If you put into any of the large language models, ask the question, is there any other country on earth that existed 2,000 years ago that now exists again after having been destroyed and conquered, destroyed, like and dispersed, the diaspora. But then even in the diaspora, a group of people that have had multiple attempts of genocide. The one most notable was the Holocaust. Is there any other people like that? And the answer is unequivocally no. It's a statistical, mathematical anomaly, and all of the AI, agrees with that.
That's crazy. So
I challenge people. You gotta look at that as if you're an intellectually honest person, you've got to sit down and ask, what is that? Is that something supernatural, divine, perhaps? That's where I've landed with it. But So
I love it.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Awesome. Well, if people want to follow along on the mission, or most importantly, order a great bottle of Israeli wine and sit down and feel good about their purchase, that some of the profits went back to causes that they align with, where would you like to send folks?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So IsraeliGoodWine.com. That's our website. Find us on Instagram, find us on YouTube. But on our website, you can try it. We have a lot of people that are like, well, I don't know if I like it. Why don't you buy a box? And we actually have a 100% satisfaction guarantee.
Wow.
So if there's something wrong with it, you don't like it, let us know. We'll make it right. Our customers really love it, and a lot of them, have become part of our wine club. So if you like it and you want to continually being a part of this, every 3 months we do a quarterly shipment. And pro tip, by the way, buying one bottle is if you buy a minimum of 4, your shipping
That's a big component with e-commerce, is you want to get this free shipping without giving it to Amazon. So,
exactly. If you ship wine, it's expensive, so get at least 4, best bang for your buck.
Love it. Awesome. Thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you.
Honor to be with you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.